Hey guys, so today I'm going to be sharing with you my breakdown and setup routine for surf fishing. This is kind of important actually. If you're going to be successful at surf fishing, you've got to spend a lot of time on the beach. You got to walk a lot of beachfront looking for spots. You got to go back to those spots and fish them in all different tides to try to understand what's going on there and what can happen and what you can catch. So that involves spending a lot of time out there. That means you're going to be going fishing a lot. I fish maybe 5-6 times a week. So how am I able to do that? How am I able to manage all that gear? It's just a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So the more efficient you can be with your routine and make it minimal amount of work, the easier it's going to be for you to break down, get your rest, set up for the next, get all set up for your next trip, and then get back out there again. So the more efficient you can be with your routine of breaking down and setting up, the easier it's going to be for you to go fishing again and again and again and really put in that time. So I'm going to show you my routine for breaking down and setting up, and hopefully it's going to save you a whole bunch of time and energy so you can spend that time checking conditions and out there actually catching fish. So it all starts with the black tub. You want to get yourself one of these guys. Everything goes in there when I leave, and everything's in there when I come home. The only thing separate from that might be a bucket with some fish in it and some ice. So, and I'll show you my bucket with ice sometime too, but let's focus on the gear. The first thing you want to do is, as you're walking off the beach, you're done fishing for the day, go ahead and cut off your bait as you're walking to your car. So that way when you get to your car, you can rinse your reel and do that. Really rinse it really good at the car as soon as possible. So here's my rinse water. I keep my rinse water, a bottle just like this, like a nice big bottle, and I keep it right there in the side pouch of my backpack. And that is always on me. You can see I used it today because sure enough, I slipped on a rock and my rod went right in the water. So immediately I stopped, I pulled out my bottle and I rinsed off my reel and got back to fishing. So get yourself a rinse bottle, keep it you can keep it just like this in the side pouch of your backpack. And then on the other side, I like to keep a bottle of water for drinking while I'm out there. So once you've got once you get home, you go ahead and rinse your reel again with hose water, and then set your rod aside. That'll go inside. And I like to hang it on the wall in my bedroom so I can stare at it and play with it throughout the day before I go fishing again. But what you're going to need to do this is a bucket of water. So I'm going to get my bucket of water and we're going to do some rinsing. You've got to get all that salt off. That's what's important. When you come home with all your gear, it's going to be covered in salty water. You got to get all that salt off, or it will destroy things. So, thank you, Ilya Seltzer, for the yellow Tidy Cats bucket. The kitty litter bucket. I'm still using it. All you need is a 5-gallon bucket fill it about 3/4 of the way with water. You don't need to fill it all the way up. I put too much water in there today. So about 3 or 4 gallons of water. And I'm gonna save this for last, and this especially for last. The reason I'm saving my life jacket for last is because it's so bulky, it takes so much volume, that when I dunk that into the bucket, it's gonna displace so much water, all the water will just will flow out, and then there'll be no water left. So I'm gonna do that last. Maybe the first thing I'll do is my jacket. So make sure my pockets are empty. You might want to turn your pockets inside out. That's another idea if they're dirty inside or salty inside. But all you really got to do is take it, drop it in there. Try not to get your shoes wet. That's all there is to it. Bring it out and hang it up. Now, on the other side of the yard there, I've got a post with some hooks where I can hang things, and that's really helpful too. I think you should put up some hooks in your yard. So I've got some hooks around the yard where I like to hang things outside, and I'll let them hang and drip dry for a few hours before I take them inside and hang them on a clothes rack or a coat rack where I get all prepped up for my next trip. So the jacket is rinsed. Let's go ahead and rinse the waders. And the way I usually like to do this is I'll pull the gravel guard up first and dunk it. Dump the whole thing. Except for the top. I don't want to get water inside my waders. Now, if I got salt water inside my waders, then that would be a secondary process to get the inside. So after I rinse the outside, I would then turn the sucker inside out and rinse the inside also and dry that out. The inside is what we really need to keep clean and dry, because we don't want fungus growing inside of the waders and then giving you a terrible jock itch problem. Trust me, it's no fun. So then I flip the gravel guards down and dunk it one more time. Just the boots, just the bits. There you go, no sand and no salt. Let's hang that up to dry. Now with your waders, you might not actually want to hang them by the straps when they're wet because they're heavy and that puts pressure points on the seams. So a lot of times I'll just drape it over something, like drape it over my kayak or over a chair and just let it dry out that way. All right, we've got some salty wet gloves. Gloves are super important when you're fishing because you're trying to hide from the sun. Otherwise, you're gonna get sunburned. If you spend 4 hours out there fishing without sunblock, you're gonna get fried. You do that 5 times a week, forget about it. So you need to cover up everything. Cover up your face, wear a hat. I pull my hood up over, and if the sun is to my left, I'll pull the hood over here. So I'm really trying to stay in the shade. And I've noticed that I'm actually still getting sunburned right here. So I'm gonna start getting a little bit of zinca and just start putting it like right there on my nose, maybe even up here on my forehead. So now I have 2 pairs of gloves. These are lightweight gloves for hot weather. These are my heavy, thick gloves for cold weather. When the sun sets and it gets chilly and there's some wind, the first thing that gets freezing are your fingertips. And that's no fun, and it's hard to feel things, hard to tie knots. So keep your hands warm, keep your fingers warm. Make sure you have some warm gloves on deck in case it gets cold. Boots are always super sandy. Go ahead and dunk them. Rinse them. Another trick here is to hold the tongue up and dump that out that way. Make sure you're getting the sand out of the inside. See? There's a lot of work involved in fishing. Now, this routine usually takes me about 10 minutes. That's all. And a lot of times I'm doing it in the dark. I come home at night after sunset and it's dark, so I'll turn on some lights out here. I also like to keep my things in the shade when they're drying so they're not getting destroyed by the sun. Because if you leave these out in the sun, they're gonna get bleached. They're gonna get totally sun bleached and destroyed from the sun. So you can just leave them in a shady spot and let them dry there. They'll dry faster in the sun, so if you want to put them out in the sun for 1 hour, most of the moisture out, and then put them in the shade, that's not a bad idea. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and refill that. Now, I'm still using tap water in my rinse bottle, but it's probably advisable to use filtered water so you get all the calcium and minerals, and those are all salts too, you know, like calcium and potassium and all that stuff. You don't want that in your water getting into your reel either. So filtered water is probably a better way to go. In fact, I wonder if maybe we should be using that one kind of water that's evaporated. I forget the name right now. But it's like pure water. I wonder if that's even better. I don't know. I've got my wading belt. Got to have a belt all around your waders. I've just started using this. I wasn't using it for a while because I just had my backpack wrapped around me nice and tight, but I've started using this as well. Safety first, man. Safety is the most important thing. All right. Go ahead and empty your backpack. All this stuff is going inside. Make sure everything is out. I've got a knife. Make sure that's rinsed with fresh water. Get the salt off of the knife. All right, the whole thing in my bag is now empty. Now I can dunk it. And the backpack, basically, I basically just hang upside down. So I just put the straps together and then put that right on a hook. Finally, the last thing I'm gonna rinse is my life jacket. And it also doubles as a fishing vest. There's my tackle. And I'd like to show you, as part of this process, I'm gonna show you what I've got for tackle too. Now, if you want to do one better, you can put a product called Salt X into that water. And what that does is that shocks the salt and lifts it up and keeps it so that it just rinses right off. So salt would like to stick to things because it's like tiny shards of glass, but Salt X lifts it up and keeps it free floating so that so it just rinses right off. So that really gets the salt out of everything. I'm not using Salt X today, but I'd like to start using Salt X, at least on my reel, if not everything. But definitely on my reel at least. All right, so I'm gonna hang this up to dry. Right over here. Now, on my life jacket or my vest or whatever you want to call it, I have some nail snippers tied onto there so I can cut line. And then aside from that, this is it. This is all I've got. Some forceps are useful for removing hooks, like if you've got a bunch of hooks in a fish's mouth or in a halibut's mouth, you don't want to get all cut up on their teeth. Use your forceps to get your hooks out. I've got a stringer in case I want to keep a fish. I can just put it on the stringer, tie it to my hip. I've got a tape measure for measuring fish. I'm going to be replacing this with a bump board because this is just not as accurate. So they make these fold-out plastic bump boards, and it measures the fish very accurately. So I'm going to get one of those and keep that in my backpack. But for now, I'm just using one of these guys. All right, and so all I've got is one jerkbait and a bag of Texas rigs. That's it. I don't even use this. I don't even use this anymore. I've just been fishing the Texas rigs. So inside I've got a variety of Texas rig paddle tail, swim baits, and hooks. So I've got some 3.75 inch paddle tails. I've got some 4.75 inch paddle tails. I've got a 5.8 right here. And the hooks are just 1/0 and 5/0. You can get some 3/0s. I like the 1/0 hooks so I can catch perch. I like the 5/0 hooks so I can just get a nice big hook into like a halibut's mouth or a striped bass. If I'm really trying to coax out the biggest fish in the bunch, I'm gonna go with a big bait and a big hook. But if I'm trying to catch anything and everything that's in the water, I'm gonna go with one of these, 3.75 inch, these smaller ones with a 1/0 hook and catch everything. So all of these items get dumped into this silver bowl. And then I just rinse it all with fresh water. Get these two, I didn't even open this. It's perfectly dry, this is good. So this will go under the sink. I'll go ahead and rinse that out and then drain it. And then this will all get dumped onto a little towel to dry. And then once it's all laid out and dried, then I put it back into bags and it goes back into my life jacket and it's ready for the next trip. Finally, make sure you rinse out your tub. You want that to be nice and clean because you're putting your things in it before you're heading out to your next trip. You don't want to go out there with sand all over you. So I'm gonna get this all nice and rinsed out. And lastly, just use your bucket of water to water your garden. So that's basically the breakdown process, and now let's show you the setup process. I also want to thank Eric Huff at Eric's Tackle in Ventura for this sweet jig para that he gave me. I'm going to be testing this thing out this year around Ventura. I'm waiting for this summer when the bite is on in the harbor at high tide and they're just eating shiny stuff and they're eating bait fish. So this sucker is going to be great when the water's clean. So when the water's clean, I'm gonna put a couple nice treble hooks on there, and we're gonna get this out there and just launch it. I'm sure it'll cast really well, and I'm excited to see it swim. I'm excited to catch some fish on that. Thanks, Eric. All right, so now we can go over the setup process. This is the setup, basically. After everything's dried outside, I bring it inside. I've got this clothes rack. It was here when I moved in, so I'm using it. And so I put like my life jacket, my waders, my fishing shirts, my jacket, my splash jacket, my backpack, everything goes on there. And what's nice about that is you can put a towel underneath it, so if there's any moisture dripping off anything, hits the towel, no problem. So here's what I do for setting up. Also, when I do my breakdown, I'll take all my baits, everything that was in my life jacket, my fishing vest, and put it here on this towel to dry out. Then, let's go ahead and get this stuff together. So in my black box down here, I've got my boots. That's the first thing that goes in. That's the first thing that goes in down here. I've got gloves. So if I think I'm gonna be using the lightweight gloves because it's warm, I'll put the heavyweight ones in this pocket of my backpack, just so I have them on deck. Because if the sun goes down and it gets cold, I'm gonna wanna put those on. These guys I will put in the life jacket pocket of my fishing vest because that's the last thing I'm gonna put on. So I wanna have it in my vest. Let's go ahead and get the rest of the tackle into the vest now. So this is all I bring fishing these days. This is it. I used to bring tons of tackle, you know, swivels and egg weights and all kinds of stuff, jerk baits and everything, crocodiles and jig paras. These days I'm just fishing Texas rig. That's pretty much it. I'm catching everything with Texas rig. It's weedless, it's snagless, and it's awesome. So I put all my baits into one Ziploc bag. As you can see, I have a variety of different sized plastics and different size hooks also, from 1/0 to 5/0. Because you can get the perch with the 1/0 hooks, and you're gonna want those 5/0 hooks when you're trying to catch a really big fish. So all the baits go in this little plastic bag here. I try to keep them nice and orderly. I have another little zip with some extra hooks. Here's some bullet weights. There's only 4 of them. I gotta pick up some more on the way out. You're gonna need a lighter weight for this big bait because it adds up and it gets too heavy. So you could throw this with just a 1/4 ounce weight. It swims really slow, which is cool, you know, if you're gonna work in an area and really thoroughly. If you're trying to cover water, if you really need to like find the fish, then it's better to swim a little faster so you can actually move along and cover more water. I've got my Texas rig bag, a jerk bait. Everything on this towel is what's going into my life jacket pocket. So I've got my gloves. I'm gonna put that on top because I'm gonna put those on as soon as I'm ready to. While I'm walking out to the water. Park my car, gear up, walk into the water, then I take my gloves out and put them on. So I keep those on top. And hopefully this thing just is working. I got a knife. Whoa! Life jacket in here. Got a knife. That goes into my backpack. At the end of the day, and clean some fish. I'm gonna put this wader belt into this pocket of my waders so I can pop that on as soon as I put that on. My rinse water is gonna go in my backpack on the left side because I cast with my right hand, and so I have to keep them on the left. You might notice my backpack is full of pool noodles. I don't always do that, but I think it's a good idea because if I do ever get washed away by a wave into a deep trough and I'm wearing my waders, I'll be glad that I have a little something extra helping me float. splash jacket. So important. Try to put that on over your waders. If you get hit with water, it all just washes right down. You stay totally dry. It's kind of a good idea to keep a hooded sweatshirt in a Ziploc bag in your backpack for when it gets cold. I'm not going to stay out too late today, and it's nice and warm, so I'm probably not going to use it. I'll probably just leave that in my car. Alright, so the waders can go here. And actually, I'll go ahead and turn those right side out now because they've been drying for at least 24 hours. No, they've been drying for less than 24 hours, but they're dry. Alright, that's all there is to it. And then what I also like to do sometimes when I'm at home is go ahead and rig up while I'm at home. So that way I can take my time and tie a nice knot, and when I get there I just put on my stuff and go. I don't have to stop and tie a knot before I start fishing. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'm not gonna rig up right now. I'll rig up when I get to the beach. So that's pretty much it. I can grab this, walk to my car. Oh, let's not forget one thing. You've got to have a checklist. Checklist to make sure you've got everything you need. So totally, make one of these little things on like an index card or something, keep it somewhere convenient. This reminds me to eat some food, rinse water, water to drink, ice, bait if I want to bring bait, a hoodie and a dry change of clothes in case I get wet and I need to warm up on my way home. Keep that in the car. Got my life jacket, tackle and rods, sunblock. I don't really use it, but I'm gonna get some. Zinca for my nose. Gator hat. That's my sunblock right now. Keys, glasses. Where are my glasses? Oh, they're right here. Keys, glasses, GoPro. A bag for my sweater to keep it dry. My wallet, my fishing license. A Ziploc bag for my cell phone. Almost forgot that one. But what I like to do with my cell phone and my wallet is put it into this. I put my cell phone in a Ziploc bag, and then on my splash jacket I have a pocket where I'll keep my cell phone and my wallet. So that will stop my fishing license right where I need to get it close quick, because if you get, stopped by a warden, they're gonna want to see that thing. They want you to have it somewhere convenient. And what else? A net. Sometimes depending on where I'm fishing, I might carry a net hanging off the back of my bag. If I'm gonna wade out really far and I don't want to walk all the way back to shore to land that fish, I can just scoop it up with the net really quick. A stringer. I've got that in my life jacket. And then there's some other items here in case